August 24, 1926, Sarasota Herald Tribune, Sarasota, Florida. Famous movie star succumbs after relapse. Greatest lover of screen dies in New York hospital. Hard battle. New York, August 23rd. Rudolph Valentino, the greatest lover of them all in the history of motion pictures, died today. For 8 days, he had waged battle with disease such as he never had to fight to vanquish his opposing forces on the screen. In the hospital, as on the silver sheet, he had fought valiantly, his determination to win never clouding the essential cheeriness of his disposition. The last words he ever spoke, but a few hours before he died, were said in friendly conversation with one of the doctors who had tended him since his operation for appendicitis a week ago Sunday. He said then that the greatest thing he was looking forward to was a fishing trip on which he invited the physician to accompany him. Soon after that, he lapsed into coma, from which he never roused. From time to time, he strained and tossed as though there were words he wished to utter. His 3 doctors and 2 nurses bent low above him, trying to catch his meaning from the faint muttering which was all that passed from his lips. But they could make no sense of it, and if Rudolph had a last message, some word to send to family or friends, to actor companions or fan admirers, his weakness forbade its delivery. As the end approached, and the priests had paved the way that Valentino might make his last journey in the manner of his faith, his business manager and close friend, S. George Ullman, left the room, unable longer to withhold his grief. And so the sheik of filmdom passed from the screen of life in the company of the tireless workers who had done all that sympathy and science and religion could do to save his life. Valentino, who rose from a $50 a week job as a movie heavy to become the greatest matinee idol the stage or screen has ever known, came here recently to attend the premiere of a new picture in which he was starred and to see his brother off for Italy. A week ago yesterday, he collapsed in his hotel suite and was rushed to Polyclinic Hospital. Examination showed him to be suffering from appendicitis and gastric ulcers, and an immediate operation for both was determined on. The double operation was a success, but the actor's condition had become so aggravated that peritonitis set in for several days. He remained in critical condition. By last Wednesday, however, his natural vigor seemed to have won the battle, and his doctors announced that no more bulletins would be issued unless there was a change for the worse. This change came Saturday night due to pleurisy that developed in his left lung and gained rapid headway because of the patient's weakened condition. Throughout the last night, his life held by the slenderest of threads every resource of the medical profession being resorted to sustain him. At 3:30 this morning, Valentino roused, smiled and talked of the time when he would be up again, and then darkness closed in on him, never to lift. Until the end, he was without knowledge that he was to die, and death stole upon him as he lay peacefully, as though asleep. When his condition became grave again yesterday, a priest heard confession and granted absolution. At 10 o'clock this morning, the last rites were administered, and at 12:10 Eastern Daylight Time, death ended one of the most impressive careers in screen history. Valentino's popularity from the time of his appearance in a leading part in The 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse was never dimmed. His mail was enormous, and his pictures adorned the walls and dressing tables of countless boudoirs. Wherever his pictures were shown, crowds of women flocked to see him fight his way through obstacles that love might triumph over all else. Always he was a favorite with women, from girls in grammar school to elderly ladies. But the one taunt he could not stand was the suggestion that he was a ladies' man, an effeminate. This always roused him to wrath, which sought an outlet in physical combat that his manhood might be proved. Because he dressed in the height of fashion, or sometimes considerably in advance of it, affecting such adornment as slave bracelets and other trinkets, he was occasionally lampooned in print and picture as an exquisite with little of the he-man in his makeup. Valentino died in a room banked with flowers that admirers had sent him from all over the country. During the 8 days of his suffering, letters, telegrams, and telephone calls were received at the hospital by the thousands. His illness became a matter of national interest, and his hourly condition was displayed on the first pages of the newspapers, any change warranting a streamer, so great was the public interest in his welfare. May 30, 1935, Berkeley Daily Gazette, Berkeley, California. 3 arrested on cult Bunco charge. By United Press, Hollywood, May 30. A mystery cult which evoked spirit messages from an enshrined portrait of the late Rudolph Valentino was smashed today by police when they arrested a motion picture actress and 2 men on suspicion of Bunco. Martian Jorgensen, who recently won a breach of promise suit from Lou Bryce, brother of the comedian Fanny Bryce, was booked on 3 charges of Bunco. Rudolph Steinbach and William Schultz were held for investigation. Officers also took into custody John Dogan Wood, 20, member of a prominent Pasadena family, who was said to have been duped into believing he had divine authority to cash checks. Wood was jailed on suspicion of forgery. Miss Jorgensen, Steinbach, and Schultz were arrested in a home high in the Hollywood Hills. Police said they lived there together. In one room was a huge portrait of Valentino, the late movie idol. Before the portrait burned bowls of incense, and nearby were several vases of freshly cut flowers. Wood, according to police, was the financial support of the cult. He told them that he had cashed several checks at a downtown department store after 12 mysterious messages came in on Miss Jorgensen's typewriter. On various other occasions, he had been guided to purchasing food and other supplies for the house, he said. The spirit messages, which the actress dashed off on her typewriter, came through the parted lips of Valentino's portrait. The youth told officers, "I couldn't get these messages myself," he said. "They would come through Marchen." Miss Jorgensen was awarded a $1,000 judgment against Bryce last December after she complained that Bryce lured her into his bedroom and kissed her against her will. She said she called on him to see about a job as a pianist. "I expected to find a gentleman," she testified, "but I found instead an intoxicated man. It was Mr. Bryce. He invited me into his bedroom to see some pictures. He there made love to me." John Fisher, Hollywood liquor dealer and a witness for Bryce, testified that it was he, not Bryce, who figured in the boudoir incident. Miss Jorgensen had demanded $100,000 damages.